from him, and the four of us would instantly stop whatever misbehavior we were up to. He hosted frequent dinner parties at our house, sitting at the head of a table filled with his family and local dignitaries. I was notorious for hiding behind whatever dignitary I was seated beside and making faces so that I could watch everyone else at the table struggle not to laugh. And I could always hear a subtle amusement in his voice when my father scolded me for it after the guests went home. He had a gift with his sons. No matter how angry he was with us, or how much we deserved it, of never making us feel disrespected by him, or less than adored. My brothers and I fought with each other as enthusiastically as we played, of course, and no fights were more predictable than those involving which of us was going to drive our father's car without his knowledge while he took care of business around town. He would take us with him on errands and disappear into some office or store. The fighting would begin, and within moments the winner would be behind the wheel, chauffeuring his brothers on a brief tour of the immediate vicinity, and then parking and hurriedly switching seats again before our father emerged and drove on to his next stop. It was thanks to those excursions that I learned to drive when I was 9 or 10 years old, still small enough that the top of my head barely reached the bottom of the car windows, so that on at least one occasion my mother was treated to the sight of our car cruising down the street, apparently driving itself. Like so many Germans, my father had to start over from nothing at the end of the First World War. He was a farmer when the Nazi era began, and he was asked to loan out some of his farm equipment to build roads, which evolved into buying trucks to lease, which evolved into starting a construction business and moving his growing family into the village of Breedenbeek, where he was elected mayor. He was a smart, honest, successful man, and like most German professionals in the early 1930s, he joined the Nazi Party. The unspeakable atrocities that Adolf Hitler and his henchmen inflicted too often tend to overshadow the story of Hitler's rise to power. There seems to be a common insane assumption that one day in 1933 he stepped up to the microphone and announced, "I'm a racist, anti-Semitic, power-crazed monster who intends to eradicate all Jews and anyone who disagrees with me," and Germany cheered and embraced him as their new chancellor. Like most sociopaths, Hitler was much more seductive and insidious than that, and neither my father nor my country nor any human being with connected brain cells and a conscience would have tolerated him for a moment if he had been honest about his intentions. Germany was severely weakened by World War I. Then came the punitive Treaty of Versailles, drafted in 1919 by the Allied forces, which contained a clause demanding that Germany accept the responsibility of Germany and her allies for causing all the loss and damage during the war. A clause written with the intention of making it economically impossible for the Germans to start another war. The American stock market crash of 1929 only exacerbated Germany's mounting economic problems, which attracted the Communists, who decided it was a perfect opportunity to take advantage of the country's vulnerability and overthrow the socialist government. It was a chaotic, uncertain, frightening era in German history, with its hard-working people pushing wheelbarrows full of rice marks, now worthless German money, for miles just to buy a simple loaf of bread. The nation needed a savior. So along came this articulate, ambitious, physically unimposing man named Adolf Hitler, passionately opposed to the widely resented Versailles Treaty, the guts to stand up to the communists, remedies for the foundering economy, positive, optimistic, a fervent nationalist, promising unity and the restoration of order to a once strong, once proud society in urgent need of the help he was offering. And sure enough, almost immediately after Hitler took charge, Germany's recovery was underway. There was no more rabble-rousing in the streets, no more criminality, no more long lines in front of stores and bakeries, no more rampant, crippling unemployment, and a wealth of glowing daily reports in the German press about all of it thanks to Hitler's vast, carefully orchestrated propaganda machine. At that time, in that context, it's not hard to imagine why Hitler seemed like the answer to Germany's prayers, why my father and millions of other good, decent Germans joined the Nazi Party, and why it's not a contradiction that never